Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Saturday Chameleon workshop at the Chameleon Academy. What a day. Okay. To start off, I have specifically been looking for Squishy, who is in this. Oh, there he is. Oh, he came out. Okay, everybody. We are going to have a bit of a break in the presentation because we are going to be specifically, we're going to be zooming in on Squishy because he doesn't always come out, but apparently he likes the Saturday shows. So let's go ahead and zoom on in. Eliza, and I am so glad you're here. We're going to do this. So, boom, there we go. Squishy is making an appearance. By the way, everybody who is coming here and watching the replay, this is a live show that happens every Saturday at 12 noon. And occasionally, Squishy comes and makes an appearance. Now, he looks a little silhouetted. Here, I'm going to open the door. Get rid of the... boy, he's under the light. So anyway, but at least is right here. There he is. He's here to say hello to everybody. All right, let's kind of bring us back to where you can actually see me and not in that glorious detail. So, woo, there we go. Up a little bit. All right. Mikey Ben says, I miss those AI intros. Well, I suppose those need to come back. If you like the AI intros, I'm going to have to do those back again. So, all right. Hello, Oscar. Very good to see you. So, hello, Canada, Joanne. Oh, well, okay. I've got another vote for the AI intros again. So if you don't know what the AI intro is, well, then come back next Saturday because I will have an AI intro for next Saturday. And that it's just a music video, but it's a special Chameleon music video. So 3 votes. Oh my goodness. All right. Jason, thank you very much for being careful. Did you latch the cage for Squishy? Yes, I did. And you may see it has 2 latches. I latched the bottom one. The top one is not always necessary. Oh, Squamaticus. I like that name. Greetings from London. Very good to see you. There you go. Okay, Marshan's saying, there we go. So, all right. Need to add this to the stage. This is our topic for the morning. It's the lesser known chameleons that you should know about. And the reason why I did this on the lesser known chameleons is that we hear a lot about the top 5 chameleons that are worked with. And that's the panther chameleon, the veiled chameleon, Jackson's chameleon, carpet chameleon, and the Parsons chameleon. So those are all readily available, and people are a large enough group is actively working with them that I'd call them mainstream as a chameleon can get. Now, there are so many species of chameleons out there. And that is actually something that it traps us chameleon keepers, is because we have a hard time focusing because there's so much to work with. There were only 5 species of chameleons that existed. We would have all of them established in captivity because we as a community would be focused. But since there's over 200 species of chameleons and we've had at least a quarter of them coming through our hands over the last 40 years, we get distracted. It's really hard to stay focused. And of course, since panther chameleons have who knows how many locales, 10, 12 that show up on our shores. It's you can even be focused on panther chameleons and be distracted. So, what I am doing is saying, even if you, even though we are distracted, there are some species that have developed some communities that are working with them. They kind of coalesced, not anything formal. They haven't been brought together in any organization. They have, it was just that a number of people have decided, I really like this species, and they've started working with them and breeding them. So, I wanted to go over 5 of them that have a grassroots community building up around them. Now, as I said in the newsletter and on the virtual campus, there's no way for me to do this without somebody saying, wait a minute, how come you didn't list X? Well, I did have standards that there are enough people breeding them more than one, and that there's a little bit of a community, and it was completely subjective. So I apologize to those of you who are dedicated to another species, but you know what? For those of you who are trying to figure out, you're saying, I'd like to work with a species a little off the beaten path, a little more exotic. What can I work with? So let's start with the Flappy-flap. And I'm saying this even because there have been at least 2 people who have hatched out Flappy-flaps in the last year. And that is me and Steve Hefner. And currently Steve Hefner is working on F2 generation, which would be an incredible milestone. So let's see. I got to go to the chat, make sure I don't get too far behind. So let's see. Wild horses would love to have a few of them all. Yes, wild horses, we know exactly what you mean. And Joanne, who's got to take off. But yes, I'm glad you got to see Squishy. It's the last 2 times we've been wanting to see Squishy, and he's not given an appearance. So this was special. Let's see. We're missing Steve and his insider tip for hoehnelii availability. Yes, we are going to get to that, and I'm going to mention that. And hopefully Steve shows up before we get to hoehnelii, because we do have some news. But the Flappy-flap Chameleon brevicorn, the thing about Chameleon brevicorn is it's first of all, it's from Madagascar. It's a wonderful species. It's not got the flashy colors, but when you like so many of these, when you look closely, it's just like you get lost in their scalation and the subtle colors and the patterns. And brevicorn, or our Flappy-flaps, are just an amazing. They've got a great personality. The males, you can see having this red nose. The one on the left is the one that I hatched out, and the one on the right is a picture that I took in Madagascar. And this is what the females look like. The one on the left is one that one on the left is the one that I hatched out and sent to Steve Hefner. This is the one that's part of our breeding program. And the one on the right is a picture of a brevicorn that I took in Madagascar. So you can see they've got that a lot of different patterns and such. So let me once again check as to what's going on here. Everybody say hello to Danielle. Hello. Very good to see you. As Ann says, I love the cryptic colors. It's so Tim Burton. Yep. And so here's the thing. It has been, people are wondering, why is it so hard to get these established? They're actually not that hard to work with. The challenge actually is getting them in a way that they are accurately identified. I think it's called the Cuculata complex. Anyway, there's a whole lot of these species of flappy-flaps. And this is Caluma crypticum. And you can see, wow, that looks very much like a brevicorn. Yeah, and a lot of times we get crypticum in shipped under brevicorn. A lot of times we get multi in shipped as brevicorn. And so even though they look the same to us, they know, wait a minute, this isn't my species. And so it's very difficult to have a breeding project when you don't know that you have two different species. And it's the same thing for the little mini calumas like Caluma butgeri, linotum, tiasmantoi, and all of those, they look very similar. And so whenever you get one of those in, you have to get it identified. The same with Burkessia. Theranzeni and superciliaris look so much alike. I actually had to get mine identified, and it turned out I had two different species. So this is a challenge with brevicorn. Luckily, hopefully, as far as we can tell, Steve and I both have brevicorn. So hopefully we'll be getting some mating, and there will be some captive bred brevicorn available next year. We shall see. Okay, Oscar's got a question, and every now and then this is a live session, and it's meant to be interactive. So I do take questions in the middle. I just got my 3-month-old panther this week on Tuesday. Is it normal that he doesn't really eat a lot? He seems to be hanging around the bottom of the UVB light. No, that's not normal. Oscar, at a 3-month-old, he should be eating a lot, although I don't know what you mean by eating a lot. I will say that he should be eating every day. And but he could be still getting used to things. He still could be, depends on what you're feeding him. Maybe you're feeding him something different than he's expecting, and he has to just get used to the cage and everything. So at this point, he still could be acclimating to his new location, but definitely keep an eye on him. He should be eating up a storm. So yeah, keep an eye on him. Keep watching. Let's see. Those are nice. Flappy-flap. Yeah. And of course, if you haven't seen, I'm trying to get a picture of this, of them. They flare their flaps up when they're trying to scare you. And unfortunately, the camera scares them more. So they try to scare me off, but the camera scares them. So they'll flap at me, but they'll just run from the camera. So I got to work on that. So let's see. Mikey Ben says, your hoehnelii is awesome. Hard to get in Canada, but I'm eyeing petteri. Okay. We are getting ahead here. Boom. The next one I'd like to talk about is Furcifer oustaleti from Madagascar. This is one of the big chameleons. It competes with the Parsons chameleon as far as length, being the largest chameleon, although the Parsons is pretty chunky. So I always give it to the Parsons. But the point is that the Furcifer oustaleti is a large chameleon, will require a cage larger than your 2x2x4. The brevicorn would be fine in a 2x2x4. This guy, I would give him to 4x2x4. And there's two reasons why he's not been widespread in the community. They're not necessarily hard to breed. It's because they come from Madagascar, and they generally come with panther chameleons. And so as very cool as they are, when they're up next to a panther chameleon, I mean, very few chameleons at all can compete with the panther chameleon for color. And so there hasn't been a whole lot of attention to oustaleti, but the people who work with oustaleti, they love them so much. Oustaleti they look fierce and they act fierce, but through Madagascar, just picking them up off the ground, not one of them has actually bitten me. They certainly like to let me know that they might, but haven't bitten me yet. See, there's me with a male Furcifer oustaleti. And people who work with oustaleti just adore them. When you start looking up close, You see all those scalations. They are amazing. And there is, and they're very hardy. They are widespread across Madagascar. This is some crazy oustaleti. What you can't see, this is a road that he's on, and that road is like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. We actually measured it. It's over 100 degrees, somewhere in there. And he was just trucking along it as if this is what he does every day. And I have no idea what he was doing out there because there's just rice fields on either side of this road. So, they are everywhere. They are hardy, adaptive, and actually, when Madagascar was closed for 20 some years, only 4 species were let out: the panther chameleon, the carpet chameleon, the varicosus, and Furcifer oustaleti. And so they've always been available. If you're looking for a large chameleon off the beaten path, oustaleti is the one to do. And I've been noticing that there have been some babies available lately, and that's why it got on the list this time. There are other people working on it, and that was important to me, because if you just have one person breeding one thing, it's okay, it's great. But when you have a number of people breeding one, even if it's just 2, 3, 4, you can start trading bloodlines. You can start establishing a species. And so that's happening with oustaleti, and I love seeing it. Let's see. What's their personality like? When you first pick them up, they will gape at you. They will try to scare you away, but then they settle down, and they're very calm. Very calm. Now, this guy, he wanted to get somewhere, and so he didn't want to hang out with me. But as soon as they get to know you, like in a captive situation, they're very calm. So, except if you're James Cross, then they hate you. Stop breeding. But yeah, when you're in Madagascar, you get a lot of get a lot of this because they're wild and they don't want to be but once they're in your hands for a while, they're just hanging around. This is the female. Now, the females actually get pretty interesting with red blotches all over. That I didn't have a picture that was in focus of the female when they in the very bright gravid colors, but this is the female, and looking good. Hey, hello, Mason. Nothing can hate James, even chameleons. Yeah, well, you know what? Oh. And this is what a little Furcifer oustaleti baby looks like. I have seen Furcifer oustaleti babies. They seem to be, both times I've been in Madagascar, we found Furcifer oustaleti babies. They just seem to be common with 2 data points. Okay, so that's not a whole lot, but they are wonderful. These little guys are just scurrying all over the place. Next, Furcifer petteri. All right, these are one of these that few people have heard of until recently. But enough people have said, you know what, these are very, very cool, that they have started to work with them. And Kevin Stanford is one person that's working with them. You can see this. This is the male. This is a gravid female. So you can see how amazing the coloration is. And our own Nick Oons has been working with them at all, and has been working with them as well, and actually hatched out some. So we are starting on, we've had 2 hatchings, as far as I know, 2 or 3. And so there's a little bit of a community being built up. And by the way, Nick, if you're here, thank you very much for allowing me to use these images. There's a female, and you can see how small, that's a baby. You can see how small they are, but they're gorgeous. And the thing is, it's very cool to have the options. If you have the space, Furcifer oustaleti is a wonderful, wonderful species. If you have limited space, Furcifer petteri is one that you can work with. that doesn't require all the space. So females have more color than the males. Now, image base one, that is true when they're gravid. And there's a number of the Furcifer species where that's true. Furcifer minor, Furcifer petteri, Furcifer labordi. Very, very interesting. When they're gravid, they let you know it. And it's also in the Chameleon species, Africanus, and Calyptratus. But normally, they're actually just this green. So, and Lateralis is the same way. So we got to be careful because we'd love to show pictures of them at their most colorful. Chameleons at their most colorful are all often stressed or gravid and warning males to stay away. So unfortunately, when you see a whole lot of these pictures, it's a little bit deceptive because that's not how they are every day normally. And that's not actually how you want them to be. You want them to be at rest. So just keep that in mind when you're seeing these pictures. Let's see. Isn't it great that we have people who are actually bringing these species available to us without having to collect from the wild? Yeah, I got to tell you, it's not sustainable. We're not going to have the species coming into the wild for long. And in a way, that's a good thing. We need to take the responsibility of captive breeding. And if we can't captive breed it, then it's probably a good idea just to let them go and not bring them in. And I know that's heartbreaking for me to say. It is. And right now, I'm trying very hard to figure out how to breed the Shamrock chameleon so we can have that. But if I can't breed it within 5 years of trying and nobody else is successful, I mean, I'm not the only one working with these species, so maybe somebody else is successful and we can all share how to be successful. The more people that breed them, the more established they are. But things are collapsing in the environment. So wild caught chameleons, just assume that they are going to be a thing of the past. And if you want to work with the species, you want to seriously work with the species and try to establish it, do it now. Because these things slam shut on a moment's notice. There's no warning when they slam shut. Every now and then you have leftover quota from the last year that can still ship out and you get one last shipment. But one last shipment is not enough to establish a species. It's okay that, I got the last ones and I bred them, and okay, just like Quadricornis. There wasn't enough quads here in the States before it was shut down, and now they're essentially gone. I mean, there's a couple individuals left, but that's what happens when there aren't enough people breeding them. Hopefully we've got panther chameleons established, although the bloodlines aren't as diverse as it may seem. Veiled chameleons are established, although the bloodlines are very thin. Jackson's chameleons are not established. I don't know if once Kenya shuts down, they'll be available. So we may go from having a whole lot of Jackson's chameleons and just assuming that they're always going to be here and being cheap, and then all of a sudden they disappear. That's a very real possibility. Parsons chameleons will probably be around for a while just because they live so long. But if there's another species you're interested in, I don't have a crystal ball, but it is not, you don't have to have a crystal ball to realize that these times are not going to last long. So, okay. Anyway, I should have said that for the ending. All right. For anyone wanting lateralis, get a name. Our feeder Grun Cup. Karma sits on it like he's the king, even when I'm on the PC. Oh yeah, they learn where the key, where the crickets are. Let's see. James says, my wife went to go garage sailing this morning. When she was leaving, she asked me to go. I said, nah. She immediately showed her non-receptive colors. You see, Learning chameleon husbandry helped you in all aspects of life. This is excellent. This is excellent. All right. Let's go ahead. This is the Machakos Hills Jackson's chameleon. It's a beautiful species. It's a little bit smaller than the yellow-crested Jackson's chameleon, and it's only from Kenya. It hasn't been established in Hawaii. And the males have this incredible color, this yellow swash and this greenish, and then the blue in the head. It's just a beautiful species. Now, the thing that really messes people up is that the females have 3 horns. They aren't as fully formed as the males, but they definitely have 3 horns, enough that a lot of females are sold as males, and people are surprised when they get babies. So this is this is an issue. Are the Machakos Hills similar in size to Cristatus? Yeah, I'd say so. Cristatus, because of their crest, they take up more space. But the body size, maybe even a little bit smaller. I'd say smaller than Cristatus. Yeah. And let's see. So this is a juvenile male, a young adult that I not hatched out. They're live birth. So this is a young adult that was born at the Chameleon Academy facility. So let's see. Do captive bred Jackson's chameleons have the same temperature variation requirements? Yes, they do. They do. So, and yes, that's a great thing to know. The challenging thing about the Jackson's chameleon, including Machakos Hills, is they want a nighttime drop into at least the low 60s. Go ahead, take them into the 50s, and they'll be happy. I do not know why that is so important to Jackson's chameleons. It's also important to hoehnelii. So it seems like the Kenyan chameleons need that. And the reason why I say that's interesting is because veiled chameleons are actually from a higher elevation than Jackson's chameleons, and they do great with a nighttime drop, but they don't drop dead if you don't give it to them. So I don't know what it is about the Kenyan species that has developed this dependency on a nighttime drop instead of just a tolerance for it. That's one of the mysteries we still have to work out. So let's see. Hey, Mike, good to see you. So, Bill, is anyone we know working with Bifidus? No, we do not know anybody working with Bifidus. I think there's somebody in Canada who has a clutch of Bifidus, but not in the United States. We can get Bifidus. If there is enough people who are interested, we could get a group of Bifidus. And people are saying, what the heck is Bifidus? Let me see if I can bring one up as I'm going to see if I can bring that up, just so you know what we're talking about. Let me see. Bifidus. Okay, I'm going to bring up a Bifidus. This is what James is talking about. There we go. Give me a sec. Almost there. Sure, squeeze. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. All right. So that is Furcifer bifidus from Madagascar. And it's a dramatic species. But very few people work with them. I have a bifidus. They're quite nice. And if I wasn't dedicating myself to the Shamrock chameleon, I could very well be involved with Bifidus. You may be asking, Bill, why aren't you working with more of these things? The reason is because I've decided I am going to focus on one thing. For most of my chameleon keeping, I've had a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I've been mating this stuff all over the place. But I've come to a point where I realize that's not the way to go. the way to go is to focus on something. If you just do a little bit of this, little bit of that, as soon as everything closes down, it's all gone. So I'm going to be working with the Shamrock Chameleon, and I've actually put off mating other things that I've got pairs of. I've put off mating them because I don't want that distraction. So I am slowly whittling my entire collection down to just Shamrock Chameleons, and the OGs, the ones that you've had for years and years and years. Yeah, they stay with me. But okay. We're back. Hey, Ranunculus. Very good to see you. Hey, good to see Germany here. So, yeah, James says, fully surprised how awesome they are. Yeah, James found one in Madagascar. He was the only one who found one. Good job, James. So, when can we get them in? Alamo 90, they can come in probably April, May timeframe, but we'd have to get enough people together to get a group of them. Maybe 5 people, bring in at least 5 pairs. So, consider if 5 of you can get together and say, yes, I'd like to do this, I can arrange for 5 to come in sometime before summer. So here, this is what we'll do, everybody. If you are interested in the Bifidus, the Bifidus, and you would be interested in, number one, you have to realize you're going to be working with a wild caught animal. And number 2, you are going to have to be, I forget how much they were going to be. They were going to be between $300 and $500 for the pair. I forget what they would be. I'd have to check again. They would be wild caught, so you'd have to deal with parasites, and you'd have to deal with acclimation, and all the things that go with wild caught. This is just what we have to go through to work with wild caught specimens. Now, I'd be happy to help with information, and if you really want to do parasites, I've got the parasite course. Please take the parasite course, and it's amazing what happens when you get on top of parasites. It's amazing how much easier they are to acclimate. So this is it. Is that this? Yeah, Nate. Nobody. I didn't get enough people signing up for the Bifidus order, and so they won't come in unless I get enough signed up. So here, let's see. Okay, you guys see that? No, not the email. This is what I'll do. In tomorrow's, on Monday's newsletter, I will put a notice, once again, asking people if they'd be interested in getting Bifidus. Now, also remember, at this point, Shamrock Chameleons will also be available. So if those of you who want to work with the Shamrock Chameleons with me, don't jump on the Bifidus. But the people who weren't going to do that, jump on the Bifidus, and they want to. If we can get 5 people who are going to order a pair, then we can do it. Just email me. You can either email me at bill@chameleonacademy.com or make sure you're on the newsletter, and then you can reply to the newsletter when I ask about this. So that's what we can do. So what if we all work on these species and let's get in groups to make breeding of the chameleons possible? That's really what we're working with. That's what I'm doing with the Shamrock Chameleon. And actually, I said 5. I actually have 6. I have the Shamrock Chameleon on this list as well. And but the thing is, we need enough people working with it to really make a dent. One person working with it, it just really does. It's a nice little flash, and then it goes away. So we need a group. And honestly, this group is working with the Shamrock Chameleon. I just got everybody excited about the Bifidus, but we'll talk about the Shamrock Chameleon very soon. And so we are working on a project together. So Yeah, and in wild horses, you don't want to get into breeding. There are other options that I'd like to talk about when we get to the end of this. So I am late and missed the last two. Hi, everyone. Hello, Alicia. So, by the way, Alicia, in case you didn't hear, I've actually got a book coming out about how to take care of chameleon hatchlings. It'll be in about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. So I know you have a hatchling, and that would be very interesting to you. All right. Anyway, on the Machakos Hills, there's another picture of the Machakos Hills Jacksons. And this is the kind of diversity you see in colors in the females. This is why you don't want to assume that females are boring. We have some of the most incredible colorations. And this, by the way, is all in the same litter, same brood. These are sisters. So there's a lot of variation. And there is a little baby. So they look, and by the way, they look very much like Xantholophus, so it's very difficult to tell them apart. A very expensive spouse. I should have had my interesting designer, but no, you know what? This makes you so much more interesting. Oh. So this is hoehnelii. It's another live bearer from Kenya. And it doesn't have the flashy colors, at least not the ones coming from Kenya, but it's small and it's just so charming. People love hoehnelii. And this is Darby. This is the little hoehnelii that I got, who was a captive born. I got this from McNeely. And Darby lived outdoors in a big cage and had a great life. And so they are very cute. They're live bearing. They're relatively easy to keep them like Jacksons, and they're relatively easy to breed. So very, very cute. And okay, let's see what time. Okay, we're coming to the end here. So it's time. I take honorable mention to the Shamrock chameleon. I am absolutely enthralled. This is, I have had to accept that my favorite chameleon is a Shamrock chameleon. This is Kaluma o'Shaughnessyi, and they're like mini parsons, but they're like the males. Adult males are smaller than the adult panther males, and a little bit bigger than the panther females. And what that means is a 2 by 2 by 4 foot tall cage is sufficient for them. And they have the Kaluma attitudes to where they are calm. They do kind of a brumation, not as deep as the Parsons chameleon, but they do a brumation, and they stay away from bright light. They don't like heat. They're cool, and they love humidity, love rain. We saw these in Madagascar, incredible. And it was all about humidity, all about the fog, all about the rain. And these are the ones that I have chosen, that I am going to dedicate my breeding to work with. I will allow my Parsons to mate if they want to. That's the one exception. But these are the ones that I am saving all of my space. So Susan says they need the big nighttime drop, 650 to 60. The hoehnelii do, if you're asking about the hoehnelii. But yes, they need the drop. Shamrock chameleons do not like the heat, so you keep them in the mid 70s, and if you can keep them at the mid 70s, not going to be interested in a basking light. So this is, I say honorable mention is because people are working with them, but we haven't had success breeding them. There have been successes. Like I know in Japan, they had some, in the United States, we had one clutch years ago. So they're not impossible. It's just if you want to establish something, you've got to do it so breedings aren't just lucky. And that's a big problem with Kaluma. They are so, I mean, some of the larger Kaluma, they are so tricky, like the Parsons, the Globifer, the Oshonasii. They get the seasonal cues. They need a cool down, winter cool down, and then it comes back up, and then they start interested in breeding. But we haven't figured it out, and not in the way that it's a formula that we can put down and then everybody can do. And that's my goal, is to figure this out. I've been working on this for 3 years now. I've gotten a couple of matings. I've gotten a few clutches of eggs, but they've been infertile for whatever reason. So I need to figure that out. And I can't say that I'm successful breeding. Even if I breed them, I can't say I'm successful until I can help somebody else be successful breeding them. And see, this is the thing with breeding chameleons. The people who are great at breeding chameleons, that's not always skill. Sometimes that's luck. Like if I was able to breed Shamrock chameleons, and I don't know why nobody else can breed them. Well, it may be just because I'm in Southern California. It may be because I keep them outdoors, and there's a certain spectrum of light outdoors that are signaling to the chameleon's eyes because they can see more of the spectrum than we can. And people keeping them indoors can't replicate that. Well, is that because I'm a great breeder or because I just happen to be in Southern California? We have to separate skill from luck. And I guess it's not really important in the grand scheme of things, but it is to me. I'm an educator, and I don't measure my success in what I can do. I measure my success in what other people can do with what I produce. So I have a much higher standard for who's a great breeder. Getting females in and having eggs laid, giving a gravid female in with eggs laid. Come on, that's not skill, that's luck. Even if you have just one mating, okay, that's great. But how come mating should be done every year? If you know what you're doing, if you have that skill and you are a quotes breeder, you're doing it every year. If you're not doing it every year, then you don't got it. You just got lucky. So yeah, and I don't want to, I don't want to like throw mud at anybody. I'm saying this because I'm hard on myself. Not hard. I think that's fair. I don't like taking credit for things that are just lucky. Being able to get to second generation, okay, that's skill. That's where I start saying, okay, I've got some skill. When I get to second generation, or when I have helped somebody else breed. So if you're part of this Chameleon Academy, my success is when you're successful. And that's why the Chameleon Academy community feels different than any other place you go to. Let's see. Oh, hey, we got 2 baby petteri. Oh, excellent. So, Bill, would it be out of the norm if the females retain a sperm on the shamrocks? No, that would be within norm. That would be within norm. And by the way, you got to see the females. The females are charming and wonderful as well. So, it's like you get to, both of them are just a pleasure to work with. And Susan, we were talking about, you're saying, well, I never really wanted to breed. You don't. The wonderful thing about what we're talking about with the Chameleon community or the Chameleon Academy community within this little group that we've got here, this isn't happening outside in the other outside world. We are working on small batch breeding. And what I mean by small batch breeding is that we breed chameleons as a community, meaning the people who are really good, who want to keep the adults, they keep the adults. They produce eggs. Those eggs go out to people who want to raise the babies. And these nursery keepers may not have any adults. All they do is raise the babies, and they get excellent and skilled at raising babies. This is the reason why this book that's coming out in about 3 weeks is all about chameleon hatchlings, how to raise chameleon hatchlings. I'm not trying to get people to go out and buy eggs. Please don't do that. Although I cover that situation, so people who buy eggs will be able to be successful. No, what I want is to have a guide that creates the foundation for people who can be part of this nursery group, because you get 24 eggs out of a Shamrock chameleon, and I want 4 bloodlines. We need multiple bloodlines. And so if, say, everything goes great and I get 4 females that are gravid, that's 100 eggs. I cannot keep 100 babies and raise them like this. This is how I want to raise babies, individually in relatively large cages. They can't grow up and be adults in these cages, but they can sure get to 6, maybe even 12 months. And so I want to be able to raise every baby like that. Well, I can raise about 12 babies like this. And what I need now is other members of the community who are willing to put together a rack like this. It doesn't have to be these exact cages. You can get Zoom Ed cages. It doesn't matter, as long as they're individually raised in something at least 30 inches tall, 30 to 36 inches tall. 48, fine. How many do you want? So for me to raise 100 eggs a year, I would need 10, 15, 20 people to help me raise up 4 clutches of eggs. And yes, I've got 4 females right now. And if all goes well, and I get 4 clutches, I'm going to need people. I don't want to raise them as a group. I want to model the way we should raise chameleons. And they're not easy to raise because they don't like to be with each other. And if we are going to say that we are giving the best husbandry, we have to raise them separately. So this has to be a community effort. And so this is really what I'm trying to, the whole Illuminati we talk about, all these people that are here with me, on the virtual campus and stuff, we're getting ready to be part of this program. And so if anybody here likes this idea, likes the idea of being part of building a community or building a breeding collective like this, stick around. It's taken longer than I expected to get eggs from the Shamrock chameleons. I didn't think it was taking this long, but then again, it's probably good that I acclimated them slowly. So I can't kick myself because that was probably best for their health. But yeah, now it's time for them to breed. So we'll see how we do this spring. Anyway, okay, let me go to the chat. I just had a nice big long talk here. Let's see. If I am successful, I have 1 baby rearing home, but I have to know I won't fail my own if it has. Yeah, you're not, Alicia, you're not going to fail. I mean, as long as it hatches healthy, you're here. You're here, you're in the right place, and we're going to make sure you're successful. Oh, you might be interested. Under what context did you say this? Prediction, because this is what happens, everybody. I come late to the chat, and so people post things, and I'm not sure the context. Prediction: Bill suddenly gets 100 fertile eggs in 1 year. It's possible. It really is. And it's like we go from 3 years of me saying that, hey, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And people are going, okay, Bill, when's it going to happen? And then all of a sudden the dam breaks. So yeah, it could happen. Guess I better start getting more cages then. Yeah. Nick says, as soon as I have enough space, I'll join in on the Shamrocks. Excellent. Excellent. Renee says, we are in. Excellent. Yeah. And really, we need this. We need this is a tall order, but to establish a species, we'll bring him up again. You need to have at least 25 unrelated pairs, at least. That's the minimum to have genetic diversity. And it's like 500 individuals is to really have a population, but to have at least a group that is sustainable is 25 pairs. There's a paper that says that somewhere, and somebody figured that out. But so this, to really establish a species, you need to have that kind of foundation. And now you're looking back and saying, well, wait a minute, do we have that foundation with carpet chameleons? Maybe. So, let's apply that to everything. But I had to choose one species that I wanted to work with, and I chose a Shamrock chameleon. And it's like a personal goal. I've never gone through the complete life cycle with a Kaluma. I've had adult brevicorns. I actually have. I have gone through the complete life cycle with a brevicorn. I haven't, not together. So, but I wanted to work with like one of the larger Kalumas, and so this was the perfect solution for me. And I love them so much. So I am currently building the first of many 8x6x4 out. Oh my goodness, those are wonderful. Wonderful. Nate Rowley says, Bill, did you ever plant that pothos in the deep cage so it could grow from the bottom up? I remember wanting to watch that happen with you. I haven't done it in that particular cage, but I've got it happening in some of my other cages, and it is impressive what pothos does. So I'll have to take some pictures and share that. So Queen's Acres, my Parsons are out right now. I built 6 of them a couple of years back. Best thing you can do for your camp. I agree. Most of us live where there's at least a couple of months of outdoor weather. If you're in Canada, it's maybe a couple of months. If you're in Southern California, it's like 8 months out of the year. So it's very cool. And it works really well. So, all right, we are coming to the end of the show. And so go ahead and put any last questions down in the chat. I do want to say, in the newsletter that's going out on Monday, we're going to be talking about the Madagascar trip. And next weekend, I'm going to have James on, and we are going to be talking about Madagascar. And so if you're interested in going on the Madagascar trip, contact me at the email below, and I'll give you more details, or come next Saturday, and we will be talking a lot about it. It'll also be, information will be in the newsletter going out on Monday or Tuesday. Sometimes it's different. So, all right, let's go ahead. Give me any last questions. Any last questions? And let's see. Oh, by the way, good news, everybody. My fruit flies have started blooming, which means that tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific on Instagram, I will go live. And for Chameleon Chore Night, I will actually be making fruit fly cups. Yay, finally. So I've been dry for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which means there's going to be a huge delay in my production, which is not fun. So let's see. See, for people with limited outdoor space, you can do 2 outside enclosures that you rotate chameleons through when the temps are appropriate. Or would it be better to do 2 chameleons for the whole season? Every little bit of time that they spend out there is fine. As long as they're parasite free, you should be fine. So we have 5 cats roaming around the backyards. Yeah, that becomes a problem. Oh, so all right, everybody, we are to the end. I want to say thank you for sharing this time with me. And if you want to hang out tomorrow, hang out. It's an informal day. There's no presentation. We just hang out and we just talk about whatever. As I make fruit fly cups, because Squishy, who is no longer in view, Squishy needs his fruit flies. Hey, Amphibious, welcome. We're just shutting down right now, but I am glad that we are able to see you here. And James says, I'll bring your questions about Madagascar next weekend. It's a trip you don't want to miss. Yes. If anybody has questions about Madagascar, send it to bill@chameleonacademy.com and we will talk. And next weekend, what's great about me bringing James on, and we'll see who else I can bring on, is because you get to talk to somebody who's been there. And this is the first time James has really gone out of the country on an out of the country trip. And so if you're nervous about going to Madagascar, talk to someone who's done it for the first time, and try not to ask him about Paris, because we'll just get stuck on Paris and we'll never get to Madagascar. He was scarred in Paris. So, oh, everybody, thank you very much. And well, wait a minute here. We'll bring me up here so I can say hello. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. I'll see you later.